Right now, an ongoing discussion about how to fund and operate the Henry Vilas Zoo. And hundreds of people are still dealing with flooding. In some places, they're even abandoning their homes. Plus, another scare in the air involving the same kind of plane recently grounded for safety concerns.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. A heated meeting over the Henry Vilas Zoo just ended at the City County building. Dane County's Public Works Committee is considering amending the 2019 operating budget for the zoo, adding staff members and taking on some work currently being done by the Henry Vilas Zoological Society. On Sunday, the contract will expire between the county and the Zoological Society after a very public falling out over the use of funding. Keely Arthur joins us now with a closer look at what was being considered tonight.
Well, Charlotte, today, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi repeated the message he's told us before. The visitors' experience at the zoo will not change. All changes will be made behind the scenes. The county is discussing two resolutions. They discussed within the last 20 minutes. The committee voted to approve an extra $600,000 to the 2019 zoo operating budget. That would allow the zoo to add 9 staff members to take care of the animals. A second resolution also passed to hire a new concessions operator. Both of these amendments, if passed, would have to go to the Personal Finance Committee and be approved by the full Dane County Board next month. And Charlotte, as we just said, those did pass, so that will go forward.
All right, Keely Arthur reporting tonight. Keely, thank you. In Fond du Lac today, Governor Evers is continuing to tour areas recovering from floods caused by the spring thaw. He got a first-hand look at one of the over 300 damaged homes in the city. According to the state, spring flooding has cost local governments nearly $2 million. The governor declared a state of emergency last week. People in Adams County are also still dealing with flooding as well. In some places, people are just abandoning their homes. This neighborhood in Big Flats is down to these two, Roy and Tom. They're neighbors who are each dealing with water going through their garages and basements. They said this has been a problem for the last 3 years, ever since some construction upstream. And in addition to it causing neighbors to leave, it's taking a toll.
I used to have a business here, had it for about 7 years, and had to shut her down 3 years ago, and I think you can see why. You can't have customers coming into this.
Adams County does have sand available for residents, and they have that information on their website, and we'll link you to theirs on ours, channel3000.com. And let's get a look at our first alert forecast now. Here's Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
Charlotte, the good news is, at least in the short term, very little, if any, precipitation will fall in the flooded areas, but we may see some rain, maybe even a little bit of snow this weekend. Weather track shows generally quiet conditions across the upper Midwest. We had a little batch of thin, high-level clouds move through earlier today. Skies have cleared out pretty nicely. There are some more clouds out to the west of us, but even those aren't producing any precipitation. Because of the clear skies and light winds this morning, temperatures dropped off to 20 in Madison, but to our north and to our east, many locations were in the teens. But high temperatures today were in the upper 40s to the lower 50s. Here in Madison, we topped out at 48, but it was as warm as 52 in Boscobel and 53 in La Crosse, whereas closer to Lake Michigan, Manitowoc only reached 40. Milwaukee topped out at 43. Current temperatures range from 28 in Sheboygan and 34 in Milwaukee to 37 in Madison and 41 degrees in La Crosse, so it is a little warmer still out to the west. By tomorrow morning, temperatures will be down to around freezing, a little patch of clouds moving on through. Otherwise, look for a partly sunny, windy, and milder day tomorrow. The high temperature topping out at 60. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Thank you, Gary. A federal ban on bump stocks begins today. Across the country, owners have been asked to turn them in or simply destroy them. Bump stocks are meant to replace the standard stock and grip of a semi-automatic rifle. They attach to a rifle's receiver or frame, allowing a weapon to fire hundreds of rounds per minute. They came under scrutiny after the October 2017 massacre in Las Vegas, where the shooter killed 58 people using rifles fitted with bump stocks. A number of groups have challenged the ban in court, but for now, it is in effect. The Democratic-controlled U.S. House of Representatives has failed to override President Trump's first veto, salvaging his effort to steer billions of extra dollars to building barriers on the U.S.-Mexico border. Lawmakers voted 248 to 181 to overturn Trump's veto, but that fell 38 votes shy of the required two-thirds margin. Tonight's vote bolsters the president's drive to build a wall along the border, which was a hallmark of his 2016 presidential campaign. A Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8 plane had to make an emergency landing in Orlando this afternoon. 2 pilots were on board the plane when an engine overheated. No passengers were on the plane. It was being flown back to California to be put in storage. Earlier this month, President Trump ordered all Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes be grounded after a pair of deadly crashes within the last 6 months. Prosecutors say a Beaver Dam man killed his ex-wife amid a custody dispute. Ulysses Medina Espinosa made his first appearance in court today, where a cash bond was set at $2 million. He's facing homicide charges in the death of Stacia Hollinshead. According to court documents, Hollinshead was in Beaver Dam with their daughter visiting Espinosa's parents. Espinosa showed up at the home and shot her at least 15 times while their daughter was inside.
Judge, in my time in the district attorney's office, I can state that this is the most serious, most brutal, and most violent set of facts that I've come across. This appears to be a pre-planned execution of this victim.
When questioned by police, the 5-year-old told them she heard the gunshots. Court documents alleged Espinosa had become more erratic since Hollinshead was granted sole custody. Actor Jussie Smollett is now clear of all charges. It's the latest twist after he said he was attacked by 2 men who used racist and homophobic slurs in January. Chicago police originally accused him of staging a hate crime and filing a false police report. But today, a major turn in the case. Illinois prosecutors dropped all charges against Smollett and sealed the record. However, in a statement, the state's attorney's office says it did not exonerate him. Governor Evers says a ruling today against lame duck laws passed by Republicans is a victory for the people of Wisconsin. A second Dane County judge blocked a portion of Republican-backed bills that limit the powers of Governor Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul. Last week, another judge blocked all the laws passed during the lame duck session last year. Republicans are appealing both of those rulings. Janesville and its residents are moving forward with ideas on how to provide homes for the homeless. According to county leaders, Rock County is home to roughly 350 homeless people. In early 2019, local craftsman Richard Snyder proposed building tiny homes for them. Since then, he says he's raised thousands of dollars and has been given a free lot to build them on.
For one individual, a homeless person, it would be ideal compared to sharing a bunk with 10 others in a large room. I mean, this would give somebody that personal, private feeling and transitional living, as well as a 600 square foot home for a young couple, you know, or anybody in need.
Janesville has also been working on a plan which would include partnering with a local nonprofit to include case managers in the rehousing process. It is spring cleaning time for the city of Madison, and you may have noticed some street sweepers out and about already. One of the sweepers, Felix Caraballo, has been cleaning our streets for the past 3 years. Before this, he was a pitcher for the Oakland A's, the Reno Red Sox, and the Madison Muskies. He said the switch over to this gig was difficult, but being a team player is something that transferred over as a skill he could use anywhere. And he says you can be a team player as well this spring by following a few simple guidelines.
Many things that people can help us do it. It's being nice if people don't park in the street. People don't should put the recycling and garbage bin in the street. When they put it in the street, we have to go around and all that stuff stay there.
Last year, the city of Madison said the street sweepers collected more than 1,500 tons of debris, but believe they can collect more if we keep the streets clear of our cars and garbage cans. Still ahead tonight, more mild weather this week with a couple of chances to hit 60 degrees. But first, the next chapter for a small but beloved family-owned diner in Sun Prairie. You're watching News 3 Now at 10. After more than 50 years, a popular gathering spot in Sun Prairie is closing its doors. The owners of Prairie Diner on Windsor Street are selling the building that housed the restaurant since 1963. Madeline O'Neill has more on why and the legacy they are leaving behind.
People in Sun Prairie have been sliding into these booths for decades, but it's about more than the food they're ordering. It's a second home.
Here you go, Denise.
It's like family here. I mean, we know so many people.
At Prairie Diner, it's all about the people.
We just tried to keep it old school and keep the fun coming.
Customers like Ted and Mary Ann Sainsbury
Home away from home.
at their usual spots.
Nothing stopped us.
Calling them regulars is an understatement.
Oh, we haven't missed a day probably in years.
And what kind of bread? And workers like Mary Ann Annan, who first started at the diner when it opened in 1963, come in on their days off.
You get to be family when it's small enough.
In fact, sometimes you can barely tell the regulars from the staff.
A guy who used to work for us jumped in and is now working the grill just to help out because I needed to come sit in with you guys for lunch.
Josh and Tara Netz took over the Prairie Diner from a family member 8 years ago.
Now we are so involved, meeting relatives, and you're becoming part of other people's families and worlds.
At a place where conversation never stops.
Everybody knows everybody and they talk about things.
Lately, the talk of the town centers on the diner itself.
Oh, it's been kind of a home for me, kind of. So I'm gonna miss it.
It wasn't something we came to easily.
Josh and Tara, who have found a home here at their diner,
We were the adoptees in this family.
are looking to start a family of their own.
Look into adoption, something that we haven't been able to do since we started here.
So selling the building was an offer they couldn't refuse.
And as hard as it is to say goodbye or see you later to this family, it is important for us to start making a family of our own.
There's no place that'll replace this.
Saying goodbye is never easy.
Very sad. It's enough to make me cry. And the day they close, I'm going to cry.
But family doesn't just disappear.
You know, for a lot of the regulars, it's not goodbye, it's we'll see you later.
This place will be missed.
In Sun Prairie, Madeline O'Neill, News 3 Now.
You have until April 30th to visit the Prairie Diner before it closes. The Powerball jackpot keeps rising with no winners after this weekend's drawing. Tomorrow night's jackpot will now reach $750 million. This is the fourth largest lottery grand prize in U.S. history. The lump sum payout on that would be about $465 million before taxes. The drawing is just before 10 tomorrow night. We will have the winning numbers right here on News 3 Now at 10. So check this out. It's super bloom time in Southern California. The Poppy Reserve in Lancaster says orange poppies are in full bloom along its hillsides and ridges. The amount of interest forced the reserve to close its parking lot at one point because it was just so darn full. You know, some people look at that, Gary, and they think, oh my gosh, I'm sneezing like crazy.
I was just in Arizona last week, and they've had a lot of rain so far this spring, and everything is in bloom there. I happened to me back in 1993, and I literally, the time I got off the plane till the time I got back on, I was sneezing.
Were you really?
So this time I was smart. I took my allergy medication with me. So around here, everything's still kind of brown, but at least we're getting rid of the snow, which is good. Most of the snow that's left in the Midwest is confined to the northern portion of the Midwest, up in North Dakota, northern Minnesota, far northern Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan, but even that is starting to melt. Hopefully that will continue in a slow process, and hopefully we'll see the radar look like this a little more often with not much in the way of precipitation, at least in the short term. Computer models for the storm system that's expected from Friday afternoon into Saturday, the USGFS computer model really backing off on the precipitation, only giving us less than 1/10 of an inch here in Madison and keeping the heavier precipitation perhaps as much as 1 to 2 inches south of the Chicago area. The European computer model has also backed off. Yesterday it was showing about 1 inch of rain. Now it's down to about 1/4 of an inch here in Madison, but still continuing that trend of keeping the heaviest precipitation down to the south, and up to the north over that snow cover, very little in the way of precipitation there. There could be a little bit of snow. The European computer model showing maybe an inch of snow in Madison. A lot of that will melt as it falls, but areas north of Madison where temperatures might be around freezing early on Saturday morning could see a little bit of accumulation before that melts during the day. The USGFS computer model, very little in the way of any snow that would stick to the ground. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Skies are mainly clear tonight. We had a patch of clouds move through earlier. Those have dissipated. Low this morning, 20 degrees. That's 8 degrees below normal, but our high temperature of 48, exactly average. And right now we're still at 37 degrees with mostly clear skies. Winds are out of the south at 6 miles per hour. Here very dry. The humidity at 42%. Normally this time of night you'd expect the humidity to be somewhere around 70 or 80%. Weather track shows the next storm system, a pretty strong storm system, heading toward the Gulf of Alaska. Some of this energy will head up into Canada. Some of it will follow along the jet stream, but take a path just to our south. So that's where the heaviest precipitation will be as we go from Friday into Saturday. But ahead of it, notice the winds out of the southwest, and that will bring temperatures up to around 60 for tomorrow and close to 60 on Thursday. You can see this front, warm front in the north part, stationary front to the south. Eventually, that'll turn into a warm front and lift northeastward. High temperatures today, while we were in the upper 40s, they were in the 60s and even low 70s across western Kansas and eastern Colorado. And current temperatures are still near 60 as far north as central Nebraska. We've cooled off into the 30s, and I think our temperatures are only going to fall a few more degrees from where they are now because winds are already out of the south, and that trend will continue during the day tomorrow. In fact, those winds will also pick up in speed. Tomorrow night, a little patch of clouds may move through, perhaps generating an isolated shower in a spot or two. Otherwise, on Thursday, we'll see variably cloudy skies. Then the next weather system, the first part passes to the south. The second part starts to arrive later in the day on Friday. But notice the heavier precipitation staying to the south. We'll just see some light precipitation here, maybe a little bit of light snow mixed in for Friday night into Saturday morning. So look for a low temperature of 32 degrees by tomorrow morning with mostly clear skies, although a patch of clouds may move through by early tomorrow morning. And then we'll turn partly sunny, windy, and milder for tomorrow with a high temperature of 60 degrees. As we check out future track, those southerly winds keeping temperatures around freezing overnight, and then highs tomorrow soaring to around 60 degrees with those strong southerly winds kicking in. Tomorrow night, some clouds. Again, an outside chance of a stray shower with low temperatures only in the upper 40s, and then high temperatures again in the upper 50s on Thursday with variably cloudy skies. As we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, those temperatures generally in the upper 40s on Friday, dropping to the upper 30s on Saturday as that rain mixes with snow. But then we'll see it warm up next week, bringing our temperatures back up to around 50 by Wednesday. Some shower chances Wednesday and Thursday, but nothing too bad there, at least as far as precipitation amounts, which is good news.
Okay, Gary, thank you.
You're welcome.
It is a star-studded matchup in Milwaukee, and perhaps a preview of bigger things. The story coming up in sports.
The Milwaukee Bucks are on national TV more and more, and why not? They have the best record in the NBA and one of the biggest stars in the league, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tonight, the Houston Rockets are in Milwaukee, perhaps an NBA Finals preview. The MVP candidates, they're okay tonight. James Harden, 23 points. Giannis had 19 points, 14 rebounds. But the Bucks can get contributions from a lot of places, like Brook Lopez, who hits the three to give the Bucks the lead for the rest of the night. And Eric Bledsoe scores 16 straight points in one segment. He has 23 in the game. Final is Bucks 108 and Rockets 94. Bucks host the LA Clippers Thursday night. The Brewers begin the 2019 championship season with their home opener at Miller Park when the St. Louis Cardinals are in town for a 1:10 p.m. first pitch Thursday. Tonight, the Brewers play their final preseason game against the Toronto Blue Jays in Montreal. No score, bottom of the seventh. Eric Sogard gets the big hit for the Blue Jays. It's an infield single compounded by a Keston Hiura throwing error. Final score, Blue Jays 2, Brewers nothing. The Brewers finish the preseason with a 19-14 record. A departure from the Badger men's basketball roster. Ty Strickland announces on Twitter that he's leaving the Wisconsin program. Strickland spent only one season in Madison. He played 16 games this season, scored a total of 28 points, but had a career-high 14 points in this game against Savannah State. Strickland played in only 3 games since the 1st of February. He averaged only 1.8 points a game this season. He says he'll transfer to another program. Tim Miles fired as Nebraska's men's basketball head coach, but they'll buy out his contract, so he'll get $105,000 a month for the next 24 months. Miles was the Huskers head coach for 7 seasons. They made the NCAA tournament once, but finished 10th or lower in the Big Ten 5 of those 7 seasons. Word is Nebraska is targeting former Iowa State and Bulls head coach Fred Hoiberg to replace Tim Miles. Last weekend, Badger swimmer Beta Nelson made history by winning 3 individual events at the NCAA championships in Austin, Texas. Nelson started by winning the 200 individual medley last Thursday and then followed it with a title in the 100 backstroke, then capped it off with a win Saturday in the 200-yard backstroke. Nelson was an all-star at the All-City Swim Meet for Ridgewood Pool growing up. She won 12 WIA state swimming titles for Verona Mount Horeb. She remembers those days fondly.
The All-City League made me who I am, and I had obviously the Ridgewood Pool shouting me out and all these little kids that I coach just sending me messages of love and support. You know, I never thought that this is where it would be, but I'm glad that I got here. I'm thankful for everyone along the way who's helped me get here.
Badger softball off to a great start this season. They ranked 23rd in the country, and after a doubleheader sweep of Northern Iowa today, Wisconsin is 24-5. An enthusiastic crowd for the home opener at Goodman Diamond this afternoon. Badgers up 2-0, bottom of the 5th in game 1. And Jolie Fish lines one to the wall in center. That'll score 2. Wisconsin ahead 4-0. Still in the 5th. Lauren Foster adds an RBI single. Game 1 goes to the Badgers 6-1, and Wisconsin takes game 2 11-2. The Badgers are at Penn State this weekend. We'll be right back.
Temperatures right now still above freezing, 37 in Madison, as warm as 41 out to the west in La Crosse. Look for a high of 60 for tomorrow. The brisk southerly winds, maybe a slight chance for a shower tomorrow night into Thursday morning, and then a better chance of rain Friday, maybe mixing with snow Friday night into Saturday. And after that, look for temperatures to warm up again toward the end of next week.
Have to soak up that 60 tomorrow. Have a great night.